the Bolton Planning Board. It's 7:30 on June 25th. Our agenda starts with a public meeting at
Bob,
7.
I'm just gonna take a roll call
I'm
attendance.
sorry.
That's okay. Robert Romer,
Here.
Michael Gore,
Here.
Austin Groner,
Here.
James Barr,
Here.
Michael Lau,
Here.
Eric Nyland. Seems that Eric's not logged in, so I think he's absent as of now. So in Eric's absence, Michael Lau, associate member, will act as a standing and voting planning board member.
Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing. Pamela, if you could read the notice, please.
Sure, I'll share it on screen. In accordance with MGL Chapter 48, Section 11, and the Town of Bolton zoning bylaws, Section 250-17, the Planning Board will hold a public hearing on the application of Wattaquatic Hill Road Realty Trust Number 1 for a special permit to allow the construction of a common driveway servicing 5 single-family house lots. The property is located on assessing map 4C, parcels 62 through 66 on the Wattaquatic Hill Road. The planning board will conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, June 25th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. The application and plans are available for review at the Town Hall, 663 Main Street, between the hours of 9 to 2:30, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Tuesday 9 to 4, and also on the town website. The public hearing will be conducted via remote participation pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18. Login information was provided below in the notice.
Okay. Do we have a representative of the applicant, please?
Yes, Brandon Ducharme with David E. Ross.
Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you.
Do you want to basically present an overview of that portion of the project for the common driveways?
Sure, if I can share my screen.
You should be all set. I just clicked
Okay.
to share. Let me know if it doesn't work. Go back in.
Okay, can everybody see that plan?
Yep.
All right, this is kind of zoomed afar. This property was originally subdivided back in 2005 through the A&R Backland Special Permit process. The property is on Wattaquatic Hill Road. The property just to the south is Neshoba Winery. Manor Road is off here to the east, and you can just see a portion of 117 Main Street. And as I said, these lots were created back in 2005. The project, it's the same owner, but there was a different applicant that was under agreement to purchase these lots, and that permitting was taken through Board of Health, obviously Planning Board to create the lots, and it was originally part of a larger subdivision consisting of 10 lots. And we had filed for a common driveway permit back in the early 2000s. At the time, there was more lots, so there was actually we were looking to do a common driveway with up to 7 lots on it. But at this point, we're refiling. We're proposing a common driveway through the common driveway permit application to serve 5 lots. There's also two frontage lots along Wattaquatic Hill Road, lots 1 and 2, which are both conventional frontage lots. And then lots 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are backland lots. And because the project is contiguous, we've analyzed the drainage and done stormwater management design that incorporates all of the lots. So it also includes those 2 frontage lots that are not being served by the common driveway. This is lot 1, single family home, has its own driveway. This is lot 2, single family home, its own driveway. And then the common driveway will come off of Wattaquatic here, come up to the back. It'll serve lots 5 and 6 here to the west, lots 9. And then as we come up to the back here, 7 and 8 are at the end. The proposed common driveway is approximately 1,550 lineal feet. We've designed this in accordance with your bylaw, including the access apron sizing requirements off of Wattaquatic Hill Road. We've provided passing lanes less than 300 feet. So we're providing a turnout here. We're providing a turnout where lots 5 and 6 break off to the west. We added a turnout here at the opening to lot 9, another one here just prior to getting back, and then there'll be we're actually proposing a turnaround. And what we've done is we've just run turning software with emergency vehicles just to show that we can essentially do one turning movement in this loop here that provides the turnaround at the terminus of the common driveway. At this point, we've received a memo from the town that they've gone through, Pam went through, and we've got some comments that we can certainly address. But I also just at this point wanted to open it up to questions. I guess the other thing I'll just quickly discuss here is the drainage. So there's a number. This is Wattaquatic Hill. The site is compact glacial till. The grading that kind of comes off this hill drains down towards Wattaquatic. So we've got a number of decentralized drainage basins. There's a drainage basin here, which picks up a lot of the overland flow from these lots, as well as there's catch basins to pick up stormwater from the driveway on lot 1. There's also a catch basin here where the driveway comes off of Wattaquatic Hill Road, which is then carried via pipes and swales to where it hits. There's another pair of drainage basins here that again picks up a lot of the overland flow that kind of comes through this way. The common driveway itself, I would say a majority of it is super elevated, and it either pitches the water into swales, or we are proposing Cape Cod berm on the down gradient side with catch basins to pick up that flow coming off the driveway. As we come into the back here, again, we've got a smaller retention basin here. We're utilizing some of the natural topography to kind of just build up a berm. And then there'll be 2 culverts that go under the driveway. And then there's a depression here, which is functioning as a forebay. And then there's a valley that kind of comes through the site here that we're berming up to have a retention pond there as well. And again, just given the soils on the site, there's also another basin here just up gradient to this area in order to attenuate all the way through the 100-year storm event. So I guess at this point we can open it up to questions.
Are there any questions from the public? Comments?
Bob, can we start with comments from the board first?
Yeah.
I actually have a quick question, Bob, if you wouldn't mind. Is the plan as is this considered a traditional development, or is this a phosphate? Are there any pieces of land here that are reserved as open space?
Yep, nope, good question. So this would be a traditional subdivision. It was the lots were created again back in 2005 through the A&R process as well as backland special permit lots.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Boston, as part of that special permit approval, back when the backland lots were presented to the board, they rendered in their they found in their decision, they made a finding that they preferred the backland lot development over the phosphor development due to the conditions of the site. So they did take that into account, but they opted for this version.
Got it. Thank you. I have one more quick question. This is directly across from the Neshoba Winery. This is correct?
Correct. Yep.
Are there any concerns about the placement of the common driveway relative to the opening for the winery? I know during the summer it gets quite busy there.
Well, hey, Austin, before you answer that question, Brandon, are there existing, are the houses already existing on lots 1 and 2 right now?
No, all these lots are proposed.
Okay. I mean, so to Austin's point, my concern is not so much with, I mean, I'm concerned about the location of the common driveway, obviously, but it's like we've got 3 curb cuts right on a very busy section of road is what's being proposed here. And it sounds like the original permit back in 2005 or whenever it was looking to, we granted a variance to allow all 7 of these houses to be on the common driveway. And so I guess the question is why are you abandoning that right now? I know those permits expired, but having 3 curb cuts right here is like, this is a bad area. And then I think there's going to be even more curb cuts on the other lots going back into town, right?
Yes, so there's 2 other lots 3 and 4. So kind of when we picked up this project here for a second time, that was kind of my initial thought before we got into the whole design phase. And I looked at this with Pam, and at that point, it was mentioned that the max was 5, even though I think at the prior time we went through zoning board of appeals, I think, in order to get the 7. But in terms of moving forward, it was kind of decided at the onset to keep in the spirit of the bylaw and have the 5 lots. Not to say, if that was continue to be a concern of the board, there's certainly ways. I mean, it's essentially where it was before, but these 2 front lots just kind of fed in off of the common driveway to reduce that curb cut down to 1.
Mike,
I'm
it's
sorry.
my understanding that the special permit sets qualifying criteria, which enables an applicant to apply for special provisions. And you can't apply for a variance from that criteria. So you can't apply to the zoning board to exceed what's allowed by the special permit in the bylaw. That's how I understand it, discussing things with town council. So we ran into this on Warner Road when the applicant was seeking special permits for backland lots. They weren't able to apply for a variance from any of the criteria from the backland lot bylaw because it's special permit. So you can't deviate from that. If you don't meet the special permit criteria, it doesn't apt for a waiver, which we don't allow for a waiver in excess of 5 lots. You can't exceed that.
Sorry, in your memo, so in September 2005, applicant was granted a variance to allow a common driveway to serve 7 single-family house lots. So who approved that?
The ZBA approved it, but that's not permissible. It wasn't done under Mass General Law.
So, okay, so you're saying that variance was incorrect.
Yes.
And we cannot, we can't allow 7 houses on a common driveway.
Correct.
Okay. Then I would say, is there a way to get, two of those houses on like do a 5 and 2 or 3 and 4 or something. Again, just something to reduce the curb cuts. I mean, this is for anyone who's driven through this area, it's a very busy area, first off. The visibility is not great. The road is very narrow. Having 3 curb cuts right there, I feel like is, it's dangerous almost.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And keep in mind, you have 3 curb cuts on the other side of the road
Yeah.
along the same area. Is there a way that I mean, with all due respect to our bylaws, is there a way that we legitimately could, as Mike says, reduce the number of curb cuts? I absolutely agree. People, regardless of the speed limit, go flying down Wattaquatic Hill Road. And in the summer, during the high season, there's an enormous amount of congestion there and something approaching road rage at times. I've been there.
Yeah, it seems like lot 1 and 5, I'm trying to think maybe the common driveway as is for lots 2, for everything except for lots 1 and 5. Might work well as is, but lots 1 and 5, I don't know the topography well here, but the gradient might not allow for this, but lot 1 and 5 might share a common driveway, perhaps further up the road as maybe one option. I'm not sure if that's a possibility here. And that could go from 3 to 2 at least, and then space it out a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, as I look at it, that's probably the only option would be, doing something with 1 and 5, because then that would allow us to come off of lot 2 to the common driveway there. But
Yeah.
again, kind of the location of where it is now is somewhat dictated. There are steep grades. So we come off of Wattaquatic, we've held up a 4% slope. And then because of the grade, there's a short section of about 100 feet where we're at the 12%, and then we reduce it to 10% slope to kind of get up there. So if we were to come further down, it's quite a bit more grade that we would need to get up into the back. So
Mhm.
if we were looking at anything, we could possibly come in at this location on 1 and somehow meander this driveway up on 5.
And then you
I
would
mean,
combine lot 2 with the existing common driveway?
Correct. I mean, it's an option we can look at.
yeah, I mean,
I
we
mean,
don't need to design it here tonight, but I mean, I think, so it sounds like in the comments for the original, so, I mean, I was a little bit surprised that this said it created 6 backland lots. I didn't think we could actually do that. Um, Maybe that bylaw's been updated by now,
Mhm.
right? We can't do
Yeah,
that
so
today, can we?
No, you can only do 2.
Yeah,
yeah, I believe it's
Um,
the same as what it always was, where essentially you can have 2 backland lots, but then they need to be separated by a traditional. So as you kind of move down, we've got 2 backland lots, we've got a traditional, 2 backland lots,
I
traditional,
see.
2 backland, and then traditional.
Okay. But it sounds like a requirement of that was that it has 2 common driveways serving it. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to look it up in the notes here.
Yeah, so one of the big changes was, as I said, this was originally part of a 10-lot subdivision. And this was formerly lot 10, which is now held by the Bolton Conservation Trust, which segments these lots. So obviously 3 and 4 are kind of on their own now, and we're working with, through this frontage to
Yep.
be able to access what's on the west side of that property that's been split off.
Yeah, so I think the spirit of the A&R that they did, or the special permit that they did back then, was all of these lots would be served by only two driveways. Am I reading that correct, Pam? Like, so even lots 3 and 4 included in that, 3, 4, 10, all of them. I know we're not
Yeah.
discussing 3 and 4 tonight, but just when that permit was granted, was that carving out all of the properties? All of the parcels?
Yes, but the common driveway was for 7 of the lots.
Which are
Okay, I see.
yeah. So it's basically the 7 that we're discussing tonight.
Okay, okay,
That's what
that's
was originally on one single common driveway.
okay. And again, I know we're not discussing 3 and 4, but I mean, more than like there will be at least one, one additional curb cut for those if it's a shared driveway, and possibly 2, depending on how they do it. Is lot 10 that the Bolton Conservation Trust, Pam, is that meant to be held as conservation land, or is that going to go to affordable housing to have a house built there at some point? Meaning,
No, that's conservation land.
okay. And you cited that this qualified for the inclusionary zoning bylaw, right? Because of the number of lots, and they donated lot 10. So, but doesn't that mean we need to either sell off lot 10 or develop on lot 10 for an affordable house?
It doesn't have to be lot 10. There just has to be an affordable unit or payment in lieu of.
And they gave the lot as payment in lieu of, correct?
I have no record of that.
That's not my understanding. So
That's not how I understood it either.
that, to be honest, that's why, and again, I was a little surprised just to see, just given the date of when the subdivision was done, and I could only go back and find the decision for the backland special permits, but there wasn't a reference to the inclusionary housing bylaw in that. Um,
Yeah,
so I don't have enough information, but like, given the age of this, I guess I was surprised that it was applicable here, because at the time, part of the negotiations when they were selling to the developer was they were under contract to purchase one of the lots, which they did, and then they in turn donated that or sold it, or however, whatever the transaction was with the Conservation Trust. It wasn't part of the inclusionary housing bylaw.
I mean, I could look into it more, but our records indicate that the inclusionary zoning was adopted in 2003, which would make it applicable to this project. I can't say why it wasn't referenced in this special permit back then, but I think it would apply. If not, you can present information as to why you feel it's not applicable.
Sure. Yeah.
We can certainly consider that and look
I mean,
into
Pam,
it further.
if you think it applies, are you saying that they owe fee in lieu of or something in this case?
Or one of these lots has to be affordable, right?
Right. However, they need to address the bylaw is up to them. There's options, but the inclusionary zoning bylaw applies to all housing developments in excess of 8 or more units. So, that would apply to this. And there's a provision in there which says, held in a division of continuous land held in single or common ownership into 8 or more lots. And that would apply to this. According to my
And it does-
records, the bylaw predates this division of
Okay,
land.
and it doesn't matter if it's part of a subdivision or not?
No, it doesn't say specifically a subdivision.
So does
Yes.
anyone know why they donated or whatever lot 10 to the Conservation Trust? Is that not a buildable lot? Do we know?
No, as I said, it was part of the deal with when they were originally selling this back in 2005. So it's the same landowner, but at the time, Hallmark or LandQuest was the client that was paying for and permitting this. And when they backed out of the deal, part of that was they had to at least purchase one of the lots, which they did. And that lot 10 had an active septic permit at the time, and for whatever reason they ended up donating, or I don't know if the Conservation Trust may have purchased a lot. However, that worked out.
I believe it was donated.
Could this count as a fee in lieu of? even if it wasn't necessarily referenced during the decision? Is this something that could be retroactive?
The land was donated for conservation purposes, not, or acquired for conservation purposes, not for affordable housing purposes, so I don't know
Okay.
that it could satisfy the requirement.
Yeah, I don't think it could, because the whole point of that is we want the money for the Affordable Housing Trust,
Right.
and if that becomes conservation land, there's nothing we can do with it.
Yeah, understood. Okay.
Correct. And that's why I said, I'm not really able to answer this to the fullest extent, because when I saw the comment, my question was more, it's at the, if you look at section C1 there, it's at the division of the land, which again was done in 2005. There's no reference to the inclusionary housing bylaw. So at this point, the land has already been divided. It's, now we're filing for a driveway approval.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem weird to kind of retroactively go back to try to get that. But I mean, to go back to what we're looking at today, I mean, definitely reducing it, if we can't bring it down to a single curb cut, then I mean, I think we need to at least look at two. Especially knowing that 3 and 4 are gonna be built on at some point.
You're saying 2 for what we're looking at today, Michael,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, if Pam's saying that we can't do 7, we can't include all 7, even though they did that they approved that back in the day, but it was, I guess, not legal.
Yep.
I mean, this looking at this, it really should have been, a phosphid. I'm sure they had their reasons for why it wasn't, right? I mean, we would ideally have had a road go through this and then all the houses served off the road, but for whatever reason, they decided to turn it into backland lots.
And there's no mechanism to to apply for a phosphid for an existing subdivision when the houses have not been built?
I think the cost would be very high for them, and they wouldn't
Oh.
want to. We've already approved. The town has already approved this. I can wag my finger at it all I want. I don't think it makes any difference.
Okay, so the long and the short of it is, Pam, if you can go back and look at inclusionary zoning and make sure that we're clear on that, whether or not it was appropriate at the time. And then Brandon, if you can take a look, as you had suggested, at potentially combining lot 1 and lot 5 in its own, and combining lot 2 with the existing common driveway that you've shown to reduce the curb cuts to 2. And then I'm not sure how much influence or recommendations there might be for Mike's comments about lot 3 and 4. It certainly would be good to see if we could have a common driveway for the two of a shared driveway for the two of them. Again, for all the reasons that we cited: speed, congestion, narrowness of the road, and past accidents that have occurred, particularly in winter or during high season. So if you could go take a look at recombining the driveways, that would be appreciated.
Absolutely. Yep. I'll take a look at that.
Pam, in your memo, I didn't see anything. Did anyone, I don't know who would comment on this, but were sightlines okay from the proposed?
Sightlines were included on the plan set.
On the plan set, okay. And you, DPW, tree warden, everyone was okay with what they were?
Yes, I didn't receive any comments about that being an issue.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
again,
know
I
that,
mean,
yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. We all just know the speeds that come down that hill, but if you look at the posted speed limit, and believe it or not, the road is fairly straight, so there's actually an excess of sight distance as you just look at, strictly looking at speed limit and distance.
Yeah. In any case, sightlines are fine without an enormous amount of careful review by the police and enforcement. I think it's going to be difficult, particularly in the winter, to get that speed down. And again, congestion, turning into the driveways on the other side of the road are an issue. So again, the bottom line is, let's try to do everything we can to reduce the number of curb cuts.
I had a stormwater question.
Yes.
If we wanted to change pace a little bit,
Yeah.
Totally.
the outflows for the ponds. Can you speak? The memo mentions a little bit about the retention basins outletting onto a property that is not part of this application, but also just looking at that pond in the bottom right near lot 2, which the other, I think 2 other ponds kind of drain towards it. Have you looked at the outflow of those? Are they concentrating a flow that used to be sheet flowed through the woods? And have you looked at that at all in the mitigation of that?
Yeah, so historically this property was apple orchard, but as you drive by there today, it's definitely, it's been left fallow and it's growing back. But when we analyze the drainage, we're looking at obviously controlling both the volume and the flow rate at the design points. Right now, everything funnels down towards the street and kind of down to this corner, which is why we've got multiple basins here. So these are retention basins. Like I said, initially the soils are compact glacial till. So one of the things that is driving the size of these basins is the fact that they fully control and hold back that 100-year storm event. So those outfall pipes, there's several of them which basically tie into each of the storm events, and then the main overflow is really just an emergency overflow. The true 100-year storm event is contained within the basin. So
that would explain the vector management note on the memo as well. Okay. Okay, I guess, is it infiltration at all? Like, is there any design feature to make it infiltrate? Or is the soil, are the soils not conducive to that?
I mean, the soils aren't really conducive to it, but yes, there's, given this class of soil, like, we hope to get obviously some infiltration through there. As you look at, I mean, there's been extensive soil testing done for septic out there too. I would say, there are areas where we had some perks in the 10s, but there's also most of this, I would say, is 20 to 30 minute per inch perk rates. So in the terms of modeling the stormwater, we don't get a lot of credit for infiltration, but essentially, they will infiltrate because we not only have to impound and hold back that water, but they can't, the basins themselves have to be able to dry out within 24 hours. So you're going to get some infiltration.
Yeah. Are you planning on, or are you aware of seeking any easements for the adjacent properties for the emergency spillways?
Not for the adjacent, there'll be obviously easements that incorporate both the basins themselves, the pipes and the swales.
That's all I had.
Brandon, in doing the drainage analysis, you talk about the 100-year flood. Is there any projection for potentially increased precipitation and event precipitation in the next few years, since we inexorably are increasing precipitation in this area?
Yes. So to the shock of our client, this was originally done for 7 lots and was factored on the storm rates at the time. There was far less basins and a lot smaller. So, based on the new updated requirements in these storm events that we're seeing, is what's really dramatically increased the amount of drainage areas on the site.
Okay, that would be my expectation. Thank you.
And actually, just for my own learning, does the gradient of the piece of property, the steepness of the slope here, increase the number and size of the drainage? Is that typically how it works?
It's definitely factored in because what's going to happen is because it is steep, all that stormwater gets to the basins a lot faster. So,
I see.
we've provided for these swales, and because of the slopes, we have check dams every 50 feet to kind of knock some of the velocities down on that. But yes, that's all factored into those rates of runoff. Because as I said, there's basically two things that we have to ensure to any of the abutting, whether it's the road or it's the conservation land, is we have to match or reduce both the volume of water that leaves the site as well as those rates of runoff. And it essentially functions as a weir. So the size of the pipes that go through the berm are sized and set at an elevation to control the rate of that runoff as it leaves the site to match the pre-existing.
Got it. Thank you.
Brandon, how high is the edge of the retention basin in Lot 2 above the existing gradient? I can't see the,
Yeah, it's tough on, I wanted to give up this aerial and everything just for presentation, but if you look in the plans, they are substantial. I mean, I want to say maybe 10 feet. And again, some of that's just because of this, if we kind of zoom in, even though we can't see the elevations, you can see the steepness of the grades coming down here. So in order to create this area, we have to bring the side of this berm up equal to the elevation on that high side and to get that volume. So yeah, they are going to be pretty good sized berms, especially in this area down here, just because the original drainage design, when Lot 10 was included, you can kind of see by the topography, there's almost a natural low area right here, which is what was used for the drainage before. So with the loss of Lot 10, now it just, we really have to create a much bigger berm through here in order to capture that on the side of the steep slope.
okay, it's a very high berm.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions from board members?
Yeah, just one other one. So Brandon, in Pam's memo, so she had 17 points there. Did you have concerns or questions or disagreements about any of those, or?
No, I think the only question or concern we had was regarding the inclusionary housing bylaw.
Okay.
Other than that, everything seemed pretty clear and appropriate.
Okay, great.
I think one of the only outstanding item that we need to really follow up on is consulting the fire chief regarding the either a cistern or sprinkling or however we're going to address that. The bylaw states, I think we got to be within 1,000 feet of a water source. As you may be familiar, there is a fire cistern down at the bottom of Wattaquatic where Berlin Road comes in. But that, from that pond to the entrance of the common driveway is about 1,150 feet. So we are beyond that.
Anything else? I mean, you've read through all the drainage system comments.
Well, I guess that's the only thing is, I believe Haley and Ward is reviewing the drainage, so
Right.
we're waiting for those comments.
Okay,
Yep. And now if we're going to be adjusting, I don't know, maybe Pam has an update on where they're at, but if we are going to be modifying curb cuts and driveways, we might want to get that evaluated before they take it too far.
Yeah, the Haley and Ward's price proposal came in extremely high, so I'm working with them to get that reduced a little, and then we'll have to ensure there's funds in the account to cover the peer review at the reduced scope, and then so they haven't even started to review it yet,
Okay.
but they said they can get it done within 10 days.
Okay, great.
But Brandon's definitely
Brandon?
right. If it was to say, if he's gonna do a new proposal with only two curb cuts instead of three, they should definitely hold off until until that comes in.
I also requested an erosion control plan. Brandon, did you have any concerns with that request?
No, no.
Okay.
I think given the site, yep, we'll address those.
Yeah, we've had some recent experience with that suggests that it's very important. Okay. No further comments from the board. Can we hear any comments or questions from the public? Well,
I
hearing
think
none.
somebody, I think somebody might be trying to make a comment, but might be on mute. Cheryl?
Yeah. I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Please
Uh,
state your name and address for the record.
Yes, this is Dan Breslin. I'm here with my wife Cheryl. We're from 116 Wattaquatic Hill Road. Just a couple comments and then a question. First of all, in terms of drainage, one of the things I am concerned about is that there's a lot of water that comes down Wattaquatic Hill Road from up above already, because we have that pouring into our yard whenever there's a big rainstorm. So I don't know how much more drainage there will be from this development, but I think we should keep in mind that there is already a lot that comes down from further up Wattaquatic Hill. I also just want to comment on the safety issue. I absolutely think that is a real consideration. Our experience is that coming up Wattaquatic Hill, just to slow down to turn into our driveway, has people laying on the horn behind us, because just the slowing down to turn into a driveway is intolerable for a lot of the traffic that's coming in that direction. And it's tricky at high traffic hours too, to get out of the driveway and in there. So additional traffic coming through here is really going to be an issue. The question that I had is, I to my eye, the embankment that's on the on the north side of Wattaquatic Hill is really pretty steep. So I'm trying to envision what these driveway curb cuts are actually going to look like, in order to have, how steep is the grade going to be going into this high traffic road? And if it's going to be ameliorated by a road cut, what's that going to do to visibility on either side of those driveways?
Brandon, you want to comment on that?
Sure. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, the right of way is fairly wide on Wattaquatic, and as you look at what the front lot line is here to the road, it's relatively flat, and then soon as you hit this edge, we start picking up the topography at quite a pace. So all of these driveways are going to be in cut, and we provided leveling areas, so the vehicles aren't shooting right out at a steep slope right onto the road. Many of these cases were at like 25 feet. The single driveways, the bylaw is they can't exceed 10%. We're below that, and then on the common driveway, I believe it's the first 50 feet that's got to be 4%. So we're running, in this case, 4%, and then it picks up, further back here into the property at a steeper slope. And in terms of the drainage, that's where a lot of this, it's a bit of a challenge to make get the drainage to all work, because we've got catch basins along the low points here that have to be brought down to these basins. So those catch basins will pick up any of the runoff that is coming down those driveways, because there's also a bylaw that we can't deposit stormwater runoff from these driveways onto a town right away.
Okay, and how steep are the embankments on either side of the driveways as they enter Wattaquatic Hill Road? How tall are they? I mean,
Um, I mean, on it, and if we're talking about, kind of the first 50 feet here, we're providing for in the, 12-foot wide driveways, and then, there's a shoulder, and then from there, when we're in a cut, we're cutting it at about a 2-to-1 slope. And on average here, I would say it's probably 5 or 6 feet into that. But as you kind of come out to the, the last 20 feet here, and part of the site distances is we have to look at that at 3.5 feet above the driveway, the pavement. And then from that point is what we're looking both up and down Wattaquatic to establish what that site distance is. So, and that's what's represented in the site distance model that we submitted.
Brandon, these are all 1-foot contours, right?
Correct.
So you can look at those and count them.
Yep.
Yep.
And
There's
Thank-
also profiles of the driveway on the plan set you can view in detail online.
Thank you.
anybody else? Well, thank you. I guess at this point, we will continue the hearing until we get more information back from the peer review, but more importantly, near term from Brandon with regard specifically to the driveways, so that it can be reviewed in the context of the most recent information. When do you think you might be able to have it, Brandon?
We've got kind of a holiday week next week, but I would hope, in the next couple of weeks, I would have something to at least come back for a discussion point with the board.
Okay. And then at
Pam,
that,
are we doing 16th and the 30th? Is that what we decided for our July meeting?
Yes, we have quorums for July 16th and July 30th, both on Wednesdays.
So I would anticipate that we should have something for the 16th.
okay, and then it will go out and be reviewed by the peer reviewer, and hopefully we'll have everything arranged contractually by then. Okay, well, with that, I'd like
I will make a motion to continue the public hearing special permit for the common driveway on Wattaquatic Hill Road until July 16th.
second.
Michael Gore,
Aye.
Robert Romer,
Aye.
Austin Groner,
I
James Barr,
Aye.
Michael Lau.
Aye.
The hearings continued to July 16th at 7:30 PM by a vote of 5-0.
Brandon,
All right.
thank
Thanks,
you very
Brandon.
much.
Yep,
Um,
thank you very much. Have a good night.
Reslins, thank you for your input. Okay, should we move on to the next agenda item?
Yeah, I'm curious what this one is.
Yeah, me too.
I'll email it to everyone. But I have it here just to view. I forgot to send it out before the meeting.
High level, what's it about?
The select board adopted a code of conduct, just basic kind of behavior standards to treat everyone sort of respectfully, and how to treat each other and the public, and it's going to apply to all boards and committees that they appoint, and they requested that all boards that they don't appoint that are elected, such as yourself, look at it and take into consideration adopting similar standards.
They want us to adopt this code of conduct as well.
Yes. So I'll distribute it. You can review it and we can vote on it or take action on it at the next meeting on July 16th.
what does adopting a code of conduct require from us? Is that do we have to?
It's just a vote. It doesn't require a
Okay.
hearing. or anything, it just sets standards, so if there's situations that become sort of hostile, you can refer to the code of conduct to ensure everyone's acting within within the realms of what's expected.
Got it. And I'm not planning on violating this code of conduct, but
Yeah.
what happens if one of us does violate the code of conduct?
That would be grounds for the board to take action to dismiss you from being being represented on the board.
Is it just for the board or is it for the public as well?
It's
Or,
just
like,
for
anyone.
it's for the board and how the board interacts with the public.
Okay. There's no dress code in there, is there?
There's no dress code. It's all pretty basic stuff, but I
Yeah,
think
it sounds like courtesy and common sense.
yeah, they just wanted to formalize some standards, so they asked that you consider it.
Okay,
You said you'll email that out, Pam?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
okay. Third item, Tadmore zoning analysis. We have all the information at this point. I believe the maps are up on the web.
No, I didn't put them. Yeah, they're on the Google Drive.
I'm sorry, on the Google Drive. Has everybody taken a look at those?
At the last meeting, we discussed creating a scope of work for the project. So I created a draft of that and saved it to the Google Drive. So I'll distribute that as well and give you time to review it just to make sure we touch all the basis that we want to of information we want to include in the study.
And this is based on one that you've done before?
No, it's just based on what we want the outcomes of the project to be. You had requested we.
Yeah,
create a
right.
scope. Yeah. Yep. So I can send it out. I
Okay,
had,
that'll be- I mean,
I had-
that's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, that's absolutely step one.
So I included things like when we should have public meetings, what we're looking for in the mapping, what we expect the outcomes to be, that type of.
Okay,
So we can go through and edit that, and I'll distribute the Google Drive link.
yeah, that would be very useful, and let's make that an agenda item for the next meeting as well, so we can get this moving. Near and dear to my heart, and Eric's, I hope. Okay, that's great. And do you want comments back individually from board members for your consolidation? How do you want to do that?
We can do it that way. It might be a. Or we can just wait and just, if everyone wants to send me red line versions, or we can just discuss it at the next meeting.
Well, I think it'd be useful to have at least initial input and
Okay.
make sure that everybody's read it by the time we discuss it. So thank you very much for doing that. Great to have a scope of work. Great to have expected product. Near and dear to my heart as a project manager. Okay, the review of the April 30th minutes. Has everybody read them? Okay. I found some minor typos that I sent back to Pam. Other than that, I found them perfectly fine. So, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of April 30th?
Was this April 30th or was this? April 9th is in the
April-
packet.
April
Yeah,
9th.
the-
sorry.
April 9th, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will make a motion to approve the planning board minutes from April 9th, 2025.
Second,
Michael Gore,
Aye.
Robert Romer,
aye,
James Barr,
Aye.
Eric Nyland, Michael Lau, minutes were approved.
What's the policy of having the Zoom AI assistant generate those notes?
Minutes.
Generate the minutes, rather. Is that permissible? Would save a lot of time, I think.
Well, it does a good job of summarizing topics, so in a working meeting, it's helpful, but during hearings, it's not the best resource because it doesn't capture votes very well. But we can use it as a base and go from there.
yeah, as long as you go back and review it.
Oh, and I also, just back to the Tadmore development, I found the the area that's excluded from the conservation restriction. Let me just pull it up. That you were referencing, Bob.
Yes, I'm very interested.
It doesn't give a specific, it's pretty, give me 1 second. It's,
Okay.
I had it up and I just closed it. Provides a drawing and, not a specific area, but it does give you dimensions. I'll show
What is the area?
I don't know. Not much. Probably 5 acres, like you said.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
5 acres?
Yeah.
About. I'm just
Yeah.
guessing. I'll show you and then you'll understand why. I don't know.
But it doesn't indicate any access or anything like that, does it?
It does have, yes, it does. It has
Oh,
frontage.
it does. Oh,
Yeah.
Is this piece of property on the east side of Forbush?
yes.
Yes. Yep. I'll pull it up.
But I would guess the access crosses wetlands. I don't think there's any way you can without crossing wetlands.
It does not.
Ooh, even better.
So it is usable. Yeah. Let me just put it up. This is how it's described at the Registry of Deeds.
Really?
And so it abuts. The frontage is right here and the line shared is with this home right here. So it comes out like this. It's about here.
And have you looked at the topography in that area?
I can pull it up now.
It rises pretty steeply, doesn't it?
I don't have topo on here. There am I.
There you are.
No, it's pretty flat.
So once you get through that little access bump, it's pretty good.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, that's very useful
foot.
information.
Well,
Yeah.
What property is that old mill on? Is that on the conservation land further down road?
Forbush Mill itself?
Yes, correct. Yep.
I honestly don't know.
Yes, the topography is not bad.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sorry, did you see reference to an old mill or you just?
Yeah, no. There is an old mill and there's a filled-in pond, mill pond in front of it.
Where is that?
It's on the left as you go down Forbush Mill,
Okay.
toward the soccer fields.
I think there's a plaque as well there, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, it was a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout project many years ago.
Mhm.
Nothing.
It would be to the right of that. That may be,
I'm
that may
guessing
be
it's
it
on-
right there.
Okay.
Yeah, Forbush Mill Road Conservation Area. So I suspect that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing left of it but the dam and it's been filled in. Okay, do we have anything else? So I'd like a motion for adjournment.
Real quick, Pam, how are the apartments going? They really look like they're making progress
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. They're
When-
moving on. The first building should be ready for occupancy in November. I've asked them for an updated timeline for phase completion of the project, and I haven't received it yet.
Are they gonna finish both buildings completely before they start renting out one of them, or?
They're gonna have the clubhouse and one building done. And then they'll move along.
Okay. But they'll repave the road and everything.
Once the project's complete, they'll repave the access to Main Street and then the interior roadways.
And they're using
Oh.
the existing public water supply?
They have a whole new tank back there. It's pretty extensive.
But it's the same wellhead?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
They're doing improvements to it.
Yep.
And expanding on it.
I'm sorry. So is that public water or is that just a large private water?
It's- It's considered a public water supply because it services more than 26 people, so, but it's a public water supply under DEP definitions. It only services the apartment building.
Got it. But it doesn't connect to any other pre-existing public water sources.
No,
The only public water we have in Bolton is along Main Street. Is that right?
we don't, I don't
don't have
know, I don't know of
None.
any public water, no,
Oh,
No, we
okay.
have-
that the
There's
town has
shared
jurisdiction
sewer
over.
for the,
Oh,
for some of
sewer.
the school and a
Mhm.
couple of the buildings, I think, but that's it.
That was my confusion. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are other, quote, public water supplies privately held just because of the number of users.
Yeah.
And by the way, that area is one of the 3 aquifers in Bolton. There's a lot of water there.
Hmm.
Okay, with that,
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Have a nice, cool evening. I'm
Yeah.
sitting in a 230-year-old house with no air conditioning. I'm looking forward to cooler weather.
Or hang out in your root cellar or something.
Right. It is cool.
All right. Good night,
Thank
guys.
you.
yes.
Right.
Bye.
Good.